As gamers, we all love our Steam deals, but the Epic Game Store has their spring sale up and running. 30 games, all under $5, all games that I have played, enjoyed, and I think is worth your time. Welcome back, everyone, to the 4 a.m. Gaming Historian. 45 years of gaming up before sunrise, so your wallet survives the day. Today, we are on the Epic Game Store, and the deals are pretty ridiculous. 30 picks, all personal recommendations, and let's tear through them. Control is Remedy Entertainment building something genuinely special, a brutalist government building full of paranormal chaos, telekinesis combat, and one of the gaming's most fascinating mysteries. The Ultimate Edition includes both DLC expansions and this won multiple Game of the Year awards. 90% off on Epic means there's zero reason this isn't in your library by tonight. Absolutely essential. The Evil Within is from the creator of Resident Evil, going back to pure survival horror roots and delivering something relentlessly tense. The game throws you into a nightmare that keeps shifting and never lets you feel safe. Resources are scarce, enemies are terrifying, and the atmosphere is oppressive in exactly the right way. If you want old school horror done by a master of the genre, this game is going to be it. Remnant From the Ashes is what happens when you mix Dark Souls with a third-person shooter and somehow nail both. It did take me a little bit to get hooked by this game, but once I did, I loved it. The procedural world generation keeps every run feeling different, the co-op is brilliant, and the boss designs are pretty creative. 90% off on Epic for a game that is replayable, and this is going to be rewarding. If you haven't experienced Remnant yet, this is the perfect entry point at the perfect price, and pick it up. We got Homeworld, which is one of the greatest real-time strategy games ever made, and the remastered collection gives you both Homeworld and Homeworld 2, beautifully updated. The scale of commanding fleets through deep space, the emotional story, the stunning visuals. This series was ahead of its time in 1999, and the remastered collection does it justice. $349 for two landmark real-time strategy games. Strategy fans, this one is mandatory. Ghostbusters, the video game, is effectively Ghostbusters 3, and it's voiced by the original cast. Set 2 years after Ghostbusters 2, as a kid who grew up with these films, this game delivered everything I ever wanted. The remaster looks great in a pure nostalgia value, combined with great gameplay, makes this an awesome licensed movie game. Under $5, just simply pick it up. Dreamscaper is different, but in a good way. It's a roguelite where you're fighting through someone's dreamscape. The world shifts based on the emotional state, and it is one of the most creative concepts I've seen in this genre. The combat was satisfying, the art style is gorgeous, and the emotional narrative underneath adds real heart. This one flew completely under the radar, and it absolutely deserves more attention. Hidden gem of the highest order, and pick it up. First-person parkour in a zombie apocalypse sounds gimmicky until you're actually leaping between rooftops at night with infected chasing you, and your heart is going to be pounding. The day-night cycle creates real tension. Night changes everything in this game. 90% off on Epic for one of the most atmospheric survival experiences in gaming. $2.49. Take it without thinking twice. We got Darkest Dungeon, which broke me in the best possible way. You're going to manage broken, traumatized heroes descending into nightmarish dungeons, and the stress system means characters can shatter mentally before they die physically. It is punishing, atmospheric, and completely unlike anything else in my 45-year gaming library. I have lost hundreds of hours to this game. If you haven't suffered through it yet, I think it's time. Pick it up. I'm going on record and saying this is the best Far Cry out there. Far Cry 3 is the game to define the open world first-person shooter template that half the industry spent a decade copying. You will come across one of the gaming's greatest villains. The tropical island is gorgeous, and the freedom to approach every situation your own way never gets old. The game came out in 2012, and it still absolutely holds up. $5 for one of Ubisoft's masterpieces. Pick it up. We do have Batman Arkham Knight. It is Rocksteady's grand final to their legendary Batman trilogy, and it was spectacular. Gotham has never looked better. The combat system is an absolute peak, and finally getting to drive the Batmobile through a citywide chase is exactly as good as it sounds. The story will go to some dark places for a superhero game. $4 for a great Batman game. If you haven't played it, check it out. Forgive Me Father is a retro FPS dipped in Lovecraftian horror, and the style alone makes it stand out from everything else in the genre right now. Comic book art direction, satisfying old school gunplay, and an atmosphere that genuinely gets under your skin. If you grew up loving Doom and Quake but want something with a fresh, horrifying twist, Forgive Me Father is going to deliver exactly that. The Division 2 dropped you into a post-pandemic Washington, D.C. that is one of the most beautifully realized open worlds in any shooter. The looter gameplay loot is tight and rewarding. The content is enormous, and the world building is genuinely impressive. 90% off for an easily 100 hours of content. Whether you play solo or co-op, The Division 2 at this price is one of the best value propositions in gaming. Vampyr puts you in 1918 London as a doctor who's become a vampire, and the moral tension at the heart of this game is unlike anything else. Every citizen you feed on is a real NPC with a story that changes the world around you. The weight of those choices is felt throughout. 90% off one of the most morally complex and underrated role playing games of the last decade, criminally overlooked, and pick it up. We do have the Night Witch, which combines Metrovania exploration with bullet hell combat and card-based spells in a way that should not work as well as it does. The hand-drawn world is gorgeous, the mechanics are creative and satisfying, and the story has genuine emotional depth. $4 for something that is inventive and this polished. This is going to be the definition of a hidden gem and deserves a massive audience. We do have Going Under, a roguelite set in a failed tech startup where you fight through the dungeons beneath the office using office supplies as weapons. Staplers, keyboards, energy drinks, and the satire of a startup culture is absolutely razor sharp. It's funny, it's fast, and the gameplay loop is surprisingly deep. $4 for one of the most original and entertaining indie games of recent years. Simply pick it up. I had to put this game on my list because my daughters love it and still play it. Slime Rancher is pure joy in game form. You're a rancher on an alien planet collecting adorable slimes, building your ranch, exploring a colorful world with zero pressure and maximum charm. It is the gaming equivalent of Deep Breath, completely stress-free, endlessly cheerful, and impossible to put down once it hooks you. If you need something just makes you feel good, Slime Rancher is the answer. Iratus flips the darkest dungeon formula completely. You play as the villain. You're a necromancer building an undead army to destroy the humans trying to stop you, and the strategic depth of managing your undead roster is genuinely excellent. The dark atmosphere is perfectly calibrated, and the Necromancer edition on Epic includes all the content. Under $3 for this much strategy and darkness, absolutely take it. The original BioShock, the most jaw-dropping opening 20 minutes in gaming history. Rapture, an underwater dystopia built on objective philosophy that has completely collapsed, is the greatest game world ever constructed, and I will not be argued out of that position. 45 years of gaming and BioShock still stands alone. $5 for one of the most important games ever made. Non-negotiable purchase, and pick it up. Roguebook is a deck-building roguelite, which brings genuinely fresh ideas to the genre. The hex grid exploration between battles, the dual character system, the way your deck evolves across the run. If Slay the Spire is your game and you've exhausted it, Roguebook could be your next step. Under $3 for something this polished and this creative, pick it up. We do have God's Trigger, a top-down twin-stick shooter with Hotline Miami energy. Fast, brutal, one-hit deaths, and pretty incredible style. You're an angel and a demon working together to stop the apocalypse, and the co-op was absolutely chaotic in the best way possible. Level design does reward memorization, and the satisfaction of a clear run through a bloody level is pure gaming dopamine. $3 for this much kinetic fun. Pick it up. Pumpkin Jack is an unashamed love letter to Nintendo 64-era platformers, medieval Banjo-Kazooie, that entire golden era, and it is absolutely nails the vibe. You're a pumpkin-headed villain on a Halloween adventure, and the charm, the level design, and the pure nostalgic joy of it is something I wasn't expecting to love as much as I did. 88% off for something this fun, just take it. We do have Legend of Grimrock. It's a dungeon crawler in the purest old-school tradition. Grid-based movement, real-time combat, environmental puzzles, zero hand-holding. It is the kind of game that existed in the 80s and early 90s that nobody makes anymore, and Almost Human rebuilt it perfectly for modern players. $3 for a game that respects your intelligence and your patience, essential for role-playing game veterans. Outlast put the found footage horror genre into gaming, and it did it brilliantly. You're a journalist in an asylum with nothing but a camera, no weapons, no combat, just running, hiding, and documenting the nightmare around you. The tension is relentless and the atmosphere is well crafted. This is the game that made content creators famous for screaming at their screens. $5 for pure terror, and pick it up. We do have Shadow Tactics, a gold standard of real-time stealth tactic games. 5 unique characters in feudal Japan, missions that demand precise coordination, and the satisfaction of a perfect silent run that is unmatched in the genre. The developers built something pretty extraordinary here, and it's crime how few people have played it. 90% off on Epic. This is a must-own at any price. Torchlight 2 came from the team behind the original Diablo, and the DNA shows in every system. Deep loot, satisfying builds, genuine co-op, a world full of personality. It launched the same year as Diablo 3, and I'll say directly, there are things Torchlight 2 simply did better. $4 for a classic action role-playing game that still holds up completely. Essential for anyone who loves this genre. We do have Death's Door, an action role-playing game where you're a crow working for a bureaucracy of death. It is a very charming, polished, and surprisingly emotional game that I've played in many years. The combat is tight, the world is beautifully designed, and the moment of genuine heart tucked inside the dark premise caught me completely off guard. $5 for something this creative? Yes, just absolutely yes, and pick it up. Rise of the Tomb Raider is the peak of the rebooted Lara Croft trilogy. Siberian wilderness, stunning set pieces, satisfying stealth and combat, and an optional tomb exploration that rewards curiosity. Crystal Dynamics built on everything great about the 2013 reboot and delivered something that still looks and plays beautifully. 85% off of the best game in the trilogy. Check it out. Late Shift is a full motion video interactive thriller, a real filmed movie where every choice you make changes the story. You're caught up in a heist gone wrong, and the branching narrative has multiple distinct endings depending on your decisions. It's a completely different experience from anything else on today's list, and it was pretty gripping. If you've never tried an interactive cinema, Late Shift is the perfect starting point, and pick it up. Up next, I do have Crime Boss Rockay City, which has an absolutely stacked cast. Michael Madsen, Danny Glover, Danny Trejo, and Kim Basinger, and delivers a co-op heist experience set in the colorful 90s Florida city with a genuine roguelite structure between jobs. I'll be honest, it did have a rough critical reception at launch, but the updates did improve it. And under $5 on Epic for a fun per dollar ratio is honestly very good for this game. Pick it up. To wrap out my list, we do have Eden Chronicle Rising, which is a prequel companion to 100 Heroes. A 2D action role-playing game with gorgeous hand-drawn art and a charming town-building loop between dungeons. It does set up the world and characters beautifully, and the combat is satisfying throughout the game. Any interested in the Eden Chronicle universe or just love classic JRPG aesthetics with modern polish, this is a brilliant entry point at an excellent price, and pick it up. That is 30 games, all under $5, all on the Epic Game Store. Remember, the spring sale doesn't last forever, so get in there and buy what you want. If this list helped you find something worth playing, hit that subscribe button. I am back every Tuesday with more deals, wherever the best deals are hiding. Click F5, reset, reload. I'm F5 Dad, and I'll see you on the next video.